Awake living into uncharted territory together, accelerating your wellness path, plus your interconnectivity at the same time. It's not your grandma's Ayurveda, but it kind of is. It's the Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Cate Stillman.
Hello, it's Cate Stillman, and welcome back to the Yoga Healer podcast. Today is a Dharma and Dollars show. I received a couple emails a couple weeks ago. One was from Katie Schneeberg and another from Franny or Francesca Weichert. And they both were asking if I had time for a cup of tea to talk about my profession. And it was really sweet. They both were very, very, very sweet gals in their mid-20s wanting some career advice. And so what I did is I emailed my assistant and I said, hey, get them over to my house at the same time. They're both local in the Jackson Hole area. And I said, get them over and we'll record a show. So they came over and we went into my closet and recorded a 2-part episode. This is the first part where we get a lot into how to make choices. So for those of you who are wanting to go into the wellness field, or maybe you're already in the wellness field and you're wondering what's next, these shows are going to be really helpful. So particularly the first part is about my past, my history, going to school, about making choices. I try to make it very relevant and entertaining. So even if you're not that interested in me, I think you'll still learn a lot about awake living and about making good choices for your future. All right, so stay tuned. This show is brought to you by Body Thrive, my book, which is now available on Audible. Yay, for audio listening. I'm a massive fan of listening to books. Rather than sitting and reading, it takes me almost twice as long to read a book as to listen, which doesn't make sense, I know. But it's just I can be doing something else. I could be doing the laundry. I can be riding my bike. I can be taking a walk. I can be doing the dishes. I can be traveling from here to there and finish half a book in a one-way flight. Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that so awesome? So if you're wanting to up-level your habits and your life with the deep wisdom from Ayurveda or yoga, I think you will love Body Thrive. The book continues to do really well. I'm so excited that I wrote this book, that I own the rights to this book, and that it's doing so well. So if you are in the middle of reading Body Thrive and you want to have a body goals session, just go to yogahealer.com/body-goals, and you can have a free body goals session with Lori in our enrollment department. And if you are a good fit for one of the programs, she'll let you know. But even if you're not, she'll help you with your body goals. Yay! Go body goals. All right, I'm here in my closet in Alta, Wyoming, with 2 lovely women who emailed me, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and were like, "Hey, can we get a cup of tea? And can I ask you a bunch of questions?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, but we're just going to record it so that thousands of people can listen to it." And the reason was you both had great questions, and you have questions that I've asked a lot, and I thought, wow, like a lot of people who can't come to my closet, might want to just listen in. So that's what we're doing. So go ahead and start, Franny, about like why you're in the closet.
Okay. My name's Franny. I am in the closet with Cate today because I am potentially interested in pursuing a career in alternative healing and medicine, nutrition. So I have a few questions for Cate. Luckily,
Indy's in the closet. You can come in the closet, Indy.
I live just 20 minutes away, so it's an awesome opportunity to get to speak with a local yoga healer.
You and
Okay,
Katie.
my name's Katie, and I came into the closet to ask Cate about her profession because I'm also interested in healing and medicine in general, and I'm unsure about which way to go on the path to where I want to go.
What have you done so far?
So far, I'm currently taking a course in herbalism.
Okay.
And I'm also taking prerequisites for nursing.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. So both things I'm interested in. It's like, I'm kind of torn about, do I go the conventional route and kind of maybe along the way mix it with natural medicine, or should I full on go the natural medicine route? And is there a way to find a balance between those, or is one better than the other? And how do I get to become like a really qualified health practitioner that can actually help people without hurting people, which I feel like sometimes the conventional route does, kind of like more like a patch, or here's this pill, when really there's a different underlying problem, which I think like the herbalist or like the Ayurvedic route tackles. And where's the line between them, and can they be one thing?
Yeah.
So I just don't know exactly like which route to take, and this is part of my research of who's where and why.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So, I mean, one of the reasons Ayurveda has lasted so long is because it's an underlying philosophical system that enfolds whatever's next. And so it's like, where does allopathy fit in? Where does homeopathy fit in? Where does where do other healing systems, where do people be like essential oils, like where do they fit in? Where does yoga, or where does Tai Chi, like where do these things fit in? And there's a lot that to me in the innovating Ayurveda conversation is like just helping people understand that it's like a baseline framework of understanding the cosmos, understanding yourself in the cosmos, yourself as in relationship to creation, the creator, and as the creation and the creator. And just that perspective can really be super helpful for people, no matter whether they're a nurse or a doctor, whatever. So we've like lots of people in, especially in yoga, health coaching, in the wellness field, we call them the wellness pros, that come in from like every different modality, because they want to understand the framework or the perspective, the philosophy, and then how what they're already doing can become more effective based on having more of an underlying philosophy that works on energetics. Right. So yeah, why don't you start, Franny, with some of your questions, or what right now is on
my mind. Like Katie, I'm also just interested in the different directions that we can take to reach our goal of being a health practitioner. And for me, like, I really want to focus on disease prevention and stress management, and kind of all the steps you can take before it even comes to disease, like treatment. And so one of my main questions to you is just, how did you get where you are today? And what is your past? What institutions did you visit? Who are your mentors? And sort of, who are you?
Yeah, sure. So it's funny because you said you're 24, and I was remembering like being 24 and being really having these same questions, of like, I feel drawn. And I love how Prashanti Dejagar, who's he's a colleague, but he's also definitely a guru, and someone that I look up to. He talks about being smitten by Ayurveda. Like it's almost like you get like, like a little bitten by the bug, and then it really becomes part of you, and you become part of it. And that's something that now that I reflect back on, now 20 years later, I'm 44. I'm like, wow, like I really I got like bit hard, and I knew it when I did too. I was like, this is like, I need to understand this piece of human wisdom. Like I really need to get what this is on a personal level, but I also knew that it was part of my professional path, and I didn't know how or what. And so for a while between 24 and 27, I just like would read. I just read a lot of books. Ayurveda was not what it is now in this country 20 years ago, right? And so you couldn't just like find a local practitioner or travel across the state and find a practitioner, or go online and study with somebody. You had to like commit and move and go to school in a different place. And at the time I had spent a while. I'd say I'd lived in China for 6 months, and before that I'd studied Chinese language for a year. And so I was pretty on the track. Like Chinese medicine would have been easier than just being like, well, that was fun. See you. I'm going to go into Ayurveda. So I spent some time in that decision, and like, should I go to naturopathy school and become a naturopath? Should I become an osteopath? Should I become an Ayurvedic practitioner, whatever that is? There wasn't as much, that whole profession wasn't nearly as developed. Should I become a yoga teacher? And these were a lot of my questions. And should I do Ayurveda over Chinese medicine was really at the core of it. And I sat with it. And what I kept coming back to was the reason I was in China was more or less based on planetary wellness. Like my personal wellness path has always been tied to planetary wellness. I would say, bitten by the planetary consciousness, planetary wellness bug well before I was the Ayurveda bug. And for me, that was the deal. When I went to college, it was to understand international environmental problem solving. And that's why I was in China. Why I went into Ayurveda was because after working in Washington, D.C. for the International Institute for Energy Conservation, I kind of came to the conclusion of like humans need to become more conscious.
Yeah.
It's not going to necessarily be about like, we're not going to get the kind of like government policies and corporate policies and procedures and incentives and blah, 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 until humans on a larger scale are much more conscious. So I might as well figure out the system that helps humans become more conscious. And that's what brought me to Ayurveda.
Yeah.
And then I realized, simultaneously that like, oh, I could heal all this personal health stuff too, that any, I would say, typical modern human being that was not raised in a holistic household is going to have. There's going to be levels of intuition, mental disconnect. Those are going to trickle all the way down through body problems.
Yeah.
You know? And so I got this like, wow, not only can
So
I,
cool.
do my dharma, this like life calling of planetary wellness, but I can actually get into the personal wellness thing. And that is the whole mission behind Yoga Healer, is personal and planetary wellness. Like that's what we do. We connect the personal to the planetary and the planetary to the personal.
So did you grow up with that type of...
No, standard American.
Okay, yeah.
All the way.
Yeah.
All like hook, line,
Same,
and sinker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like childhood
Right.
constipation leads to childhood migraines, leads to allergies, leads to like the podcast listeners are like, oh my God, do I have to hear this again? Leads to, lots of different allergies, leads to fibrocystic breasts and premenstrual issues, leads to a sense of disconnect from decision making, from,
Intuition.
just, intuition and
Yeah.
that whole rigmarole, not knowing how to like balance weight and eating and body habits and being super smart on one hand and like really not super smart on the other hand of, just all these things that are so not necessary for children to grow up with.
And typical in our country.
And typical.
Mm-hmm.
So then to answer the question, when I decided to study Ayurveda, when I was like, had made that decision of like, this is the one, I went to the California College of Ayurveda in Grass Valley. And in about 3 months later, I enrolled in the Iyengar Yoga Institute teacher training program in San Francisco, which was they were both 2-year commitments. I mentored at both schools, did work study mentorships. I'm a big fan of work study programs, and we have a robust one now at Yoga Healer with over 60 people in it. It's huge.
What does that mean? Work study?
Work study, where you trade to study. You trade your work to study.
Okay.
Because I want people as invested as I was. Yeah. I'm a big believer in investing time, energy, attention, money in what you want, or you can't get what you want out of it.
No.
So I work studied with my teachers at both schools and and as a result, like I kind of got like the insider scoop. Yeah. Which was huge.
You get to see how it's really like, not just what it's like in a book.
Yeah, or in a classroom.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe also the unromantic sides too, a little bit of like how's the business run and what happens if the numbers aren't as like high as you want them to be. And I did a work trade also in Germany this summer for Anusara, and you're like cleaning the studio after and you're looking at the numbers, and it's like not this like always just magical. It is magical, but you see all the sides, and that's good, I think.
It is good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's real life.
So where do we go next? So
institutions.
And actually, let me say this too. One of the things, because I was paying my way, right, at that point, I grew up in a family where there was a massive emphasis on education. And there was like, we'll pay for education through college, which was sweet because most of my friends didn't have that arrangement, and they were already having tuition. Yeah. And so what helped for me was that cutoff really helped because, and with my daughter and her going to, I'm not a big believer in college for most kids. I'm a big believer in like figure out what you want to do next and start doing that and see if you really want to do it next. And then, and different opportunities and relationships start to open up. So that I feel like was actually quite delayed for me until I was really paying my way. And so when I was looking at this school versus that school, and I was looking at Chinese medicine versus naturopathy versus being a clinical Ayurvedic specialist and a yoga teacher, I looked at the ROI and I was like,
Right.
well, if I put in this much now, what do I get by
Out of
when
it.
can I start earning
Exactly.
by when? And so that if I don't like what I'm doing or the
That you can
lifestyle
still
or whatever,
switch.
yeah, I
And
can
you pay it off.
I can switch and
Yeah.
pay it off and not be like burdened because
Yeah.
you
Right.
don't really know before you are actually doing it
Yeah.
and living it.
Yeah.
And so that was a big factor for me. So it ended up my investment with both schools was about $12,000. And I knew like that's really not that much money. And it was back in 1998. So it was a while back, but still like there's a
Yeah.
lot, even with our yoga health coaching, it's
Yeah.
under 10K.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like the ROI on that is huge.
So what did you walk away with from the Ayurvedic school?
I walked away with a clinical Ayurvedic specialist certificate and a ton of experience.
Yeah.
And they have a cool program there where they have an intern program where you do start to see people in school and you can
Cool.
charge for that. So I was actually earning
That's pretty cool.
18 months into these 2-year schools. I was at that point, like I had fully employed myself because, and this is one of my big benefits of like lower regulation programs.
Right.
If you're good,
You can start working.
you can start working and you can start helping people and you'll get paid and your name will spread and you can earn. And
Right.
so I left San Francisco with a full practice to move back here because we liked the mountains and
Yeah.
whatnot. So at that point I had also been trained in Panchakarma, which is the detoxification
Mhm.
techniques of Ayurveda. And I'd worked in the California College of Ayurveda Panchakarma clinic at that point for probably a year. And I had a lot of experience just from what I'd seen there and then from doing it a lot. And so when I came back here one summer before I was even done with school, and my parents have a teepee about a mile away from here set up on this irrigation creek. And I offered this thing at my yoga studio, at the local yoga studio, where I was like substitute teaching that summer. And I was like, for $100, you can have an Abhyanga and a Shirodhara. That's an Ayurvedic massage and the oil poured over your third eye in this cool teepee on this cool creek.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And everyone signed up, like all the local yoga, meditation,
Cool.
mindfulness, like all those people were like, and then that word spread.
Yeah.
It's like $100. It's like this 2-hour cool session. This was 15 years ago or however,
Yeah.
even longer, 20 years ago. And people did it. And so I got to put my hands on a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing with yoga and just like, how many friends can I teach? Like how much can I just start to practice and use my
Yeah.
skills so that I get better?
Yeah.
And it's that whole
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours thing. Like how quickly can you get to 10,000 hours
Of
is
practice.
largely going to determine how good you get fast and how much value you can provide to other people and how easily you can make a living.
Right.
And a lot of people forget that part, especially the millennials. Like the millennials are sort of screwed in that way because they don't think that they're going to have to put in that time.
Before.
And
Yeah.
my daughter, I mean, she's kind of, she's growing up in the entitlement generation. And it's like the same thing of like, when do I get that? I'm like, when you put in your hard work and your time and your practice, you'll be able to
Right.
do
To
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
and anyone can, and my belief is like anyone can make it in anything. This is
Right.
like I'm a big American, like land of opportunity, plus online business, plus internet age of like,
It's pretty crazy.
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
So it's more about actually going into the career more than it is going to school for the career.
I mean, I think anyone who's like trying to make these decisions is like, what are you smitten by? Like, do follow
Yeah.
your intuition and
Mhm.
I am so glad at that point I started to follow my intuition instead of
Right.
following. I mean, and that even now, like most Ayurvedic practitioners do not make a living and fail. And same thing with yoga teachers, right?
Mhm.
And to me, it's more user error now on that in terms of just like not knowing how to get after it, not doing the business training stuff and not getting in a community of peers that's thriving and succeeding and learning from them. Like that's right.
Right.
And
So how do you do that?
well, yeah, right.
That's
How-
the big question.
yeah.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
like location based, like being like in Jackson and in Victor, like what are opportunities here that you know of to like get more involved? Like I know there's like yoga studios but I feel like sometimes the educational opportunities, it's not oversaturated with them here. Like there's not a whole lot of workshops, and it might just mean that it is worth leaving for a while and studying somewhere else. But do you know of any like opportunities like within the Tetons that you would recommend?
Yeah, I do. So, but let me back up, because what I
Okay.
was going to say, it was like 20 years ago, like no, like there were not, if you were telling your parents or you're telling someone like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to go to Ayurvedic school, they'd be like,
Most people
what?
don't even know
Yeah,
what that
There's
is.
not even a market. So now if you actually look at the trending for wellness and the
Mhm.
spending in wellness, and it doesn't matter what segment you choose, whether it's coaching or supplements or, I mean, just, healing modalities, exercise modalities, like this, the spending of that is
there.
going up. The
Yeah.
market's growing.
Yeah.
The market's growing exponentially.
Yeah.
And it seems like people in general, like if you say Ayurvedic medicine, more people know about that, or like, oh, I've heard of that. Oh, I've done this one thing that was Ayurvedic. So it's like, especially like in people my age group, like middle 20s.
Yeah.
It does seem like that trend is going up.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see, and I feel like it's this old trend that's coming back. Like it was lost in the past 100 years, especially in the United States, with all the pharmaceuticals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that.
Yeah.
Well, it's also with like the changing climate and changing political situations. I think that people are becoming more self-aware of their own impact in the world and want to be like in control more of who they are and
Mhm.
what they do and how they impact. And so I think a lot of people are seeking guidance on how to do that.
I really agree with that. It's like we're understanding like, oh, if Obamacare goes away,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can't get my drugs for cheap, like
What if I have to rely on myself?
what do
for
I
a
have to
while?
rely on myself?
Yeah.
And how much control can I have for my experience? And to me, that is the underlying
Yeah.
message. Is like you can have all the programs that I have invented have been based on like how much control can you
Yeah.
have of what you want to experience? How much can you thrive
Yeah.
in all these different areas of your life? Whether, first of all, just starting with body.
Right.
Because if you can't thrive in your body, you can't thrive in your
In anything
relationships,
else,
you can't
yeah.
thrive in your career,
Yeah.
you can't thrive in dharma,
Yeah.
and you can't like make something incredibly amazing happen in your lifetime. So we've got to start
Basic.
with the body. We've got to start with the habits.
Yeah.
We've got to start with often detoxing, because so many people, as you both know from going into any big box store, like so many people are just really toxic. Their cravings are toxic. Their, their cravings not just physically, but
Yeah.
in terms of like entertainment, in terms of just what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Like
Are
self-manipulation too probably goes hand in hand with that. And yeah.
so the market's growing. We've gotten there. What's the
Yeah.
next? Yeah, where do you want to go next, Katie?
Well, I guess just so if Obamacare was lost, but somehow the insurance isn't going away. Like no matter what happens with Obamacare and all this political stuff with Trump and blah blah blah, like insurance is still going to be a thing.
Insurance will be a thing, but if we look at like access to insurance and we look at the number of people that are paying out of pocket for what they actually want, for the kind of empowerment and control they want over their experience, that's increasing every year across the board, across the world. Even in, you look
Yeah.
at Canada where there's comprehensive care, those people are spending more and more money out of pocket to get the experiences they want every year. So we've determined we're in a growing industry. So anyone who wants to go into wellness, is it super competitive? Yeah. So you better be good,
Right.
Mhm.
and you want to be
Creative and-
good
yeah.
because
Right,
that's
of
why you're
course.
here.
Right.
So then part of this is like you really have to pay attention to the market, and you have to pay attention to the marketplace, and you don't just need the skills of your profession,
Right.
right?
We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we're talking about self-healer, the self-healer path, the self-thriver path, and how to empower people with the tools to lead their own life journey to thrive.
If you are a yoga teacher or wellness pro, I have a question for you. Do you want to heed the call of a bigger dharma? Do you get in cycles where you don't know where to focus next? Do you want to extend your reach, your clout, your influence, your authority, but don't know where to point your attention to make that happen? If so, you are not alone. In fact, Grace Edison, a yoga health coach, and I have just kicked off the Changemaker Challenge. It's a free 10-day course for you to heed the call of your bigger dharma.
When you sign up at yogahealthcoaching.com/challenge, you'll get the challenge step by step through a series of 15-minute videos and 15-minute action steps over the course of 10 days. Yes, you need to put in 15 minutes a day, and it will align your focus to heed the call of your bigger dharma. The buzz in the challenge is contagious. You'll connect with other change makers and get direct feedback on our Facebook forum. Sign up for the Changemaker Challenge at yogahealthcoaching.com/challenge. CHALLENGE. It's free. It's getting rave reviews. Get direction on the path to heeding the call of a bigger dharma. Again, go to yogahealthcoaching.com/challenge. It's free, it's great, and only for a limited time. You know, like I graduated and I was an Ayurvedic practitioner and I was an Iyengar yoga teacher and then became an Anusara yoga teacher. I picked up other certifications along the way, you know, but at the end of the day, none of that led me to be financially successful. And the financial successes enabled me to have a much greater impact
Right.
with
And
my
allow
knowledge.
yourself to keep doing workshops and progressing.
And coaching tons of other wellness pros into
Yeah.
how to have a bigger impact,
Yeah.
and a bigger income, right? So there's a lot of things happening, that a lot of training I had to pursue outside. Like once I knew what I was doing and how to help people, that was not enough to make a living.
Okay, that's a really interesting point.
Yeah. And that's why like our yoga health coaching certification program, which we have doctors and nurses, we have a lot of people that are not yoga teachers in there. We also have a lot of yoga teachers in there, but the certification part of that, like what the hard part of that program is how to run a career,
Marketing.
how to market,
Yeah.
and how to enroll people into your programs. And that's where the hardest learning curve is. That's where like the struggle and the pain points are. And that's honestly where the biggest transformation is, because most people coming into that program, like they've got hearts of gold. They care about their potential clients and their current clients. It's easy for me to teach them how to coach
Right.
and how to get people to results faster.
Right.
It's easy for me to do that with the doctors and the nurses as well. What's hard, and especially harder for like the more holistic the person is, the more mindfulness based the person is, the harder it is for them to really fall in love with marketing and the yoga of marketing, and fall in love with the yoga of enrollment and those parts of it, how to care about someone so much that you get them into your program.
Right.
So are you saying that's like the tipping point? It's
an essential, so I would say it's an essential skill set. It's just as essential. It's a 50-50 thing. Like 50% of your attention has to be how effective you are with people once they're enrolled. And then 50% of your attention is like how to enroll people and how to build an infrastructure in your business that really nurtures people through to results. And a big part of that is, it's interesting because it's not just marketing and enrollment. I had the Living Ayurveda course orientation call yesterday, and that course is now in its 10th year. I started when I was pregnant with Indy, who's weighing herself. How much do you weigh now, sweetie? 60. She weighs 60. So she only weighed like a sixth of an ounce back when the Living Ayurveda course started. And now she weighs 60 pounds. And that course has grown up with her, and the infrastructure has grown up with her. And what was so cool is the new members on that course, like they knew exactly, they were so prepared for that orientation call. Like half the work is done because they are ready to rock and roll. So this course is going to fly. Like the results they're going to get in the next 9 months have to do because our marketing enrollment is so strong in that program that they're like onboarded before we even start.
Well, yeah. Well, you can tell that by looking at your website. Like it's, so comprehensive, and there's a lot of information. And I am so thankful for all your like free things too. You know,
right? You can live in the free world forever.
You really can.
Like,
it's super cool,
and that's fine.
Yeah,
you know, like we're good with that.
Yeah. But so there is like a lot, that you can do before like starting. Which is cool.
And that's what, it's like, that's the kind of training that unfortunately is not yet coming through other holistic wellness programs.
What the marketing side?
How to run a business, how to do the marketing, how to do enrollment, and where that's going in the future. Like I'm naturally a futurist, so I'm always like I'm attuned to where the market's going next. Where's
it going next?
Yeah, right? That's
that is the question. Tell us.
That's the question. So where's it going next for whom? Right? That's the
Right.
better question, because that's what's happening in the market, is that it's getting differentiated. It's getting splintered. You're able, if you go into Facebook and they advertise exactly to what you want. They're not pretending you're your neighbor.
No.
Your redneck neighbor. I mean, you live in Victor. There's
Yeah.
lots of snowmobilers
Yeah.
out there. There's lots
Yeah.
of people who hunt on the weekend.
Totally.
They got target practice in the back. You know, their fridge is not stocked with green shoes. It's stocked with
Cheese.
you know, Budweiser,
Yeah.
you know,
For
and
sure.
in their cup, right? And it's
Yeah.
like those people have a really different Facebook feed
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
than you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if we start to get that, then we start to get like, okay, what kind of impact do I really want to have? And then how can I break that down into smaller and smaller targets each year? So maybe, how many people do I want to help this next year? How do I want to help them? How many people do I want to be helping in 5 years?
Right.
At what level of investment?
Right.
Knowing that the more they're able to invest, most people in yoga health coaching who are wellness pros have invested in their personal wellness path at least $30,000.
Yeah.
Your redneck neighbor has not.
No, he hasn't.
And he's having a totally different experience, or she's having a totally different experience in her body
Yep.
than the person that has. You ask that wellness pro, would you give it up for the cash? Like with interest, with, you know,
Right.
at you know, stock market increased value over the last 30 years. Would you take that ROI of having put the money in at an 8.5% return? And they laugh. Right? They're like, it's like, not only would I've paid what I've paid and given up that ROI, but like, I'd give you my car too. Like I'd give you my house, because I know how to take care of me. And I
Right.
didn't know how to do that. And that is worth the world, because now I know how I want to age. I'm in control of my
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
My opportunities are so much more open because I know how to source power in my
Right.
own body. Right? Like they're not going to trade that for
For a car.
anything.
Right.
No.
But we have to teach people who don't understand how to invest in themselves to get the experience they want, how to do that. And that, in my experience, that is as much of my job as any other part of my job.
Right. Just
And-
encouraging that first initial.
Showing them how to invest
Exactly,
each step of the
yeah.
way, not
Yeah.
just the initial, but each step
Yeah.
of the way to get what they want. And
Yeah.
so then the question becomes, what kind of impact do you want to have? How many people do you want to work with? At what price point of investment? And so now
Right.
you're starting to build a little bit of a business model.
Right.
Now you have a little bit of a framework instead of a,
Idea.
or like a
Yeah.
spray and pray or
Yeah.
whatnot. You know,
Right.
there's,
So, so the people who are coming to you already have an idea of, okay, I know what Ayurvedic medicine is. I want to take a step towards personal wellness, and I'm interested in natural healing, right?
well, we have all different levels. So people coming into the Yogi Detox, which will be starting, those are just people who want to feel better. And they might not know of Ayurveda, and they may have gotten a free pass from a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they might just come in like, I want to lose the weight, or I want
Yeah.
to sleep without the
Mhm.
drugs. I want to return to sanity, because what I'm experiencing is not fun right now. And I don't like my job, and I don't like my body, and I don't like my schedule. And so they might not have ever heard of Ayurveda,
Yeah.
but they'll hear it pretty quick. And then they'll be like, what's that? Are your word? I'm saying it wrong. And they'll be like, I'm like, I say it wrong. I'm not Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's part of like the questions or the struggle in my mind is I feel like these people have some sense of that they want to do self-help, but a lot of people who are maybe they just don't know. And like how do you
Agree.
reach out to people who
Yeah.
are suffering but they're kind of in this loophole of okay, I'm sick. Doctor gave me a drug.
Yeah.
Doctor gave me a drug. I don't feel well. I'm going to go to a different doctor, get a different drug. Like
Yeah.
how do you reach that person?
Well, if this is niching, right? And figuring out who your avatar is. So in this case, the avatar, the person that you've determined you can help the most, is someone that doesn't know much about holistic
Right.
self-care, is on pharmaceuticals, has been on pharmaceuticals for a while. And so then to me, some of the next questions that I would want to know is what is their diagnosis? Right? Because often it's so interesting. People become identified with their diagnosis. So I was
Yeah.
actually
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Michelle Kalan, who's in she's in yoga health coaching. She's a yoga health coaching mentor now, and she cuts off people's feet. She's a
What?
yeah. She's a podiatrist who works primarily with diabetes clients.
Oh my
So these people
God.
who've been told a million times, like, you need to change your diet or lifestyle. You're like, and they've gotten their toe cut off, and then their next toe cut off, and then their next toe cut off, and now they're at the ankle
But
or
that's
whatever.
who they are, right?
Well, so I'm like, what do your clients call themselves? And she says, like, I'm a diabetic.
Right.
So if you're going to market to people that say I am a diabetic, I would put that in the Facebook headline. I'm a diabetic and I don't want my diagnosis anymore. Like, that's a good, and now I want to build a funnel for someone to start to, based on educating them from the start. Like, if you have, like, what percentage of people that have this diagnosis can lose it?
Right.
Can start to make change? What are some of the initial changes this person is going to need to start to make? So that's what, that's really what it looks like, is carrying so
They can, like,
much
spell it out almost.
about the person. Yeah, that
Yeah.
you know what they're starting from. You know their beliefs. You know their
Right.
assumptions. You know how they're identifying
Right.
themselves, that you can start to help them from the beginning. As you do help them, you start to build trust.
Right.
Right? They're like, oh, wow, this is helping. She told me to do this. I'm doing this. This is helping.
Right.
And then you start to educate and empower and give them small experiments to run to get results on. And soon they'll be asking you questions like, what else can I do? So that's what that kind of a funnel
Right.
would look like.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And it is the getting in their heads. Like, you want to know how the people that you want to help, how they think. So I know how I we work with a lot of different kinds of people at Yoga Healer, but at least half of our market is wellness pros, right? Like, those are half the people that I work
Right.
with a year in any course. They're in the Yoga Detox, they're in Awake Living, they're in Living Ayurvedic course. Like, every time I turn around, I'm like, well, I'm a massage therapist, and I'm and I work with essential oils, and I teach mindfulness at the kids' school, and I have a degree in, and it just, they have a wall of certificates.
Right.
They're in my book. I'm like, you're just a pro healer.
Right.
Right now, like, what are your pain points? Like, what are the things that you're struggling with? Well, I want to make a bigger impact than I am. And I want my clients or patients, depending on what they are, I want to get them real results. Like, I want to get them better results faster. And I want to be
Right.
known in my field. I want to be respected in my community. I want to be the go-to person
Mm-hmm.
for this. So how do I
Right.
get from here to there? So
Right.
I'm in that person's head now, right? Because I just told
Right.
you exactly how they're thinking. These aren't my problems.
Right.
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 Like, these are their
Right.
issues. So can then my course get them to where they want to go?
Right.
So it's no different whether it's as a practitioner trying to figure out their next step, or as someone who needs some serious medical help, right? To be able to learn how to walk the
Well,
self-healer path.
What I really like, though, about, like, your book and kind of what you're saying right now too, is that a lot of it is, like, giving them the tools for them to create that healing and that path, it seems like.
The tools and, like, to me, tools and information are on, like, one side of it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the equation is building an infrastructure in the community
Okay.
Right.
so that they can thrive.
Okay.
Because if I was trying to, and it's why I wouldn't meet with the two of you, right? You each asked me to come for tea or something. And I was
Right.
like, nope. I didn't say no. I said, like, yes. And we're going to do it as a podcast in my closet.
Right.
Right? Like, that's how we're going to do this. Because I know that connecting you
Right.
two and connecting you two through the podcast community, fist bump. It's okay. She missed the fist bump. It's all right. We'll catch up. But, like, that's how
Starts.
how people succeed. And it doesn't matter if it's Michelle's diabetic client and that person getting in one of her coaching groups to go from I'm a diabetic to I was a diabetic.
Right.
Now I'm like a person who's self-empowered with my own wellness journey and I'm thriving, right? I'm a thriver.
Right.
If they're in a group, she's going to be able to help them get results.
Yeah.
If they're not in a group, that number, I mean, there's some interesting stats on this where I was trying to, like, get more data, but it seems to drop by about 70%.
If you're
What?
alone.
Wait, what?
Being in a group that's going where you want to go,
Yeah.
getting on the bus that's going in the direction that you want to head,
Yeah.
to trying to get there alone in your own car. Even if you have a coach. Even if it's you
you're
and a
saying,
coach
like,
going there.
peers, like,
Yeah.
hey, me and this other diabetic or these two other diabetics are all on this path.
We're
Yep.
checking in with each other and
Or
telling each other about our.
Me as a yoga teacher being with a bunch of wellness pros are on this path to understand how to run a business.
Yeah.
Or like two people who are like, what do we do with ourselves? You're like, hey, here's each other. Maybe you can help each other too.
Yeah, you can start having accountability of like follow up. Exactly. So we know, so this is a big thing is that we know that, okay, half of it is tools and information. And the other half is infrastructure, a community-based infrastructure that gets you there.
Right.
And it's crazy because most wellness practitioners don't know that. Most yoga teachers don't know that's actually half the reason the students are coming is for the other students and what's happening in the classroom. They don't know how to leverage that.
Right.
You know, a yoga health coach knows how to leverage that, and they know how to build a mentoring infrastructure in their own career so that that fuels them as the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, to me, that's where you are saying, like, where's it going? Where's the market going next? It's going into collective leadership. It's going into feminine leadership. It's going into niche marketing. It's going into tons of this like lateral mesh support infrastructure. And in the wellness field, it's really going into a practitioner understanding that they're guiding a community to a result.
Right.
And that's a moving target. Because once they get to that result, they're going to want the next one. And they better stay a few steps ahead. Or just say, I only get people from here to there.
To here. I've also realized that in like just the business world that I think a lot more employers are putting more emphasis on like their employee satisfaction and team dynamics, group building, stress management. And they're realizing that if they can work together in a cohesive, way, that their business is going to be more profitable. And I think that's like a market too that is kind of growing a lot.
Absolutely.
Which is really cool.
Corporate health coaching and corporate wellness and that whole thing. Absolutely. I mean, just as a business owner with contractors, I don't have employees, I have contractors who live all over the world. Like, I care about them and their health. Like today on today's calls, like anyone you guys want to bring into the Yogi Detox, just send Liza an email and let her know that you want these friends to have passes, or you want these family members to have passes, or like you know, like why? Because if they're healthier and they're living and their relationships are healthier, because it's never just you, it's like you and whoever you're living with and your friends, and because you're all influencing each other all the time. Like you are the average of the five, you know, the habits of the five people you spend the most time with, right? Like, it's tough. So
you want them all to thrive.
We want them all to thrive, because if they're thriving, they're going to like coming to work better, and they're going to have better ideas and be, I mean, anyone that's healthier has more prana in their body.
Right.
Their mind is on a totally different level.
Happier, which makes you happier, which is not the point.
Yeah. The other thing is turnover. I mean, there's turnover for people not getting the kind of wellness environment at work, right? If work is an unhealthy place to be, because everyone at work has unhealthy habits. Like at some point, anyone who's healthy is going to be like, this is toxic. I got to get the heck out. Turnover is expensive. And I know that firsthand. It's like, whoa, to onboard someone and get someone up and running and understanding and part of the team and whatnot. Like, we want good people to hang.
So I have another question. And so I'm from Germany originally, and like healthcare covers so many different things. And like I had scoliosis growing up, and I could get like a massage for it or go to yoga for it. And like the naturopath like doctor is in Germany, they're not necessarily like a doctor, but it's like another just part of the health system that is like very much appreciated. But you know that you're like going there with the expectation of getting more alternative, like holistic healing versus like the other doctor. But even though the other doctors will not prescribe like antibiotics, like our whole system is very like herbal based. And so I guess going into like healing, like for myself, I find it intimidating that insurance doesn't cover a lot in the US. And so that's kind of like something that I'm always like thinking about is like, are there still enough clients that want to be like on a more self-healing alternative path and will spend that money? Is you know, like how big is the market actually? Sort of is kind of
Yeah. So like I said before, like the market's growing.
Right.
More people are spending more money out of pocket every year.
Right.
Everywhere. Not just in the US. Like everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's getting that. And again, what are people not getting that you want to be able to provide? Or if you want to work within the insurance umbrella, you know, how do you want to work that? Now, I know more and more even doctors that are like, I just don't want to take insurance. I want to do it, you know, my way and work with people in that. I would say to me, that's really fascinating. It's a big marketplace. We're in a global marketplace, which we have global competition. So that's really intense.
Right.
It really is. But if you can prove value and you can prove a return on investment, and you can help people learn how to invest in what they want,
Right.
then.
Right. They care a lot more about that too than like what your actual probably certifications are and what your past is.
Exactly.
They really, they want the result. The degrees, but they want that result.
They want the result.
And that leads me to my other question. Do you get asked a lot about your licensing, your certifications? And
no, I don't. I mean, remarkably little. My certifications are, let's see, I have a Bachelor's of Arts from Carleton College. I'm a clinical Ayurvedic specialist from the California College of Ayurveda and a Panchakarma specialist. I have completed the Iyengar Yoga teacher training certification. I have completed Dr. Alad's Gurukula program in India, which is an Ayurvedic guru-based program. I can't remember what else, but random other meditation type, children's mindfulness type certifications here and there that were whatever. But yeah, I mean, fascinatingly enough, I mean, when I was doing body work as a clinical Ayurvedic specialist and Panchakarma person, like at some point I was like, do I need to get certified in massage from the state of Idaho? And I looked at it and I was like, I could, but like, who's going to call me on it?
Right.
If people are like loving the experience, like who's, and so that's always been, and this is part of my personality. I'm a rebel. So I'm always like, do whatever you want. And what is it? Ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
Exactly.
That's gotten me in trouble, but I've been in trouble a lot, but I'm also
with what?
That's for another show.
Troubles of Cate Stillman.
Look at my criminal record. But yeah, I mean, it's also led me to be incredibly successful and also on a track for an enormous amount of success and self-sufficient, so that if everything were taken away tomorrow for whatever reason, I have, I know how to build stuff. Yeah, and there's something, I think, to that, more pioneering.
Yeah.
Life.
All right, we'll be back next week on the Dharma and Jala Show with part 2, which is a lot more about being a practitioner, about investing in your role as a wellness pro, and how to get a return on investment and how to make decisions about that return on investment so that you don't end up putting a lot of money and time into education and then not enjoying your lifestyle as a practitioner or as a wellness pro. So all that is next week. Stay tuned. Woohoo! Closet Sessions.
Yoga Healer Real Life Show with Cate Stillman. Yoga Healer.